everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and this is Lunchtime Live episode 91. For those of you who are new here, Lunchtime Live is basically my video newsletter. So I'll tell you everything that's going on at Stitches and Scraps, what I'm working on, all of that. And then we will jump into a demo. Now for 2022, I'm doing a Stitch of the Week every week as the demo, and I'm alternating between knit and crochet. Today is a crochet week, and we will be looking at the crochet block stitch. So we'll get to that at the end of the video. But first I want to tell you what's going on and what's new. So very exciting week because the third bag in our, oh wait, before I get into everything, as I talk about these things, if you want to go see them, if you want the link to them, look in the description on this video and you'll see a link to a blog post. In that blog post, I've listed everything that I plan to talk about with the links to it. So when I start telling you about the patterns and stuff that I've got out, you can go find it in that blog post. You'll have all the links. Good morning, Mary. It's good to see you. What are you up to this week? Anything new? So what I've been up to, and it's very exciting for me, I got the third bag for the bag along cal posted. So the third pattern is up. You guys have seen this bag the last couple of weeks before. I've shown it to you. So this is the mandala bag, and this is one option. This is the easy option for the mandala. This is the other option, which is the harder option. This is a layered flower. It's worked in 2 layers at the same time and then joined. So it is a little more complex, which is why I gave you an easy option as well. So you can mix and match them like I have, or you can do both the same on the 2 sides. And then it's got the strap that wraps all the way around the bottom, and it's got a zippered lining. Look at that. So it's got a zipper and a lining, so really great purse for summer. Goes really well with jeans in these colors. And the pattern is up. The first tutorial is going to come out next week on Tuesday, I believe. And that one's going to have how to make the flowered mandala. I really like this one too, Mary. This is my favorite out of all of them so far. It turned out really good. Sometimes you have a picture in your head and it doesn't quite turn out that way. And then sometimes it's like, oh yes, that's exactly it. So I'm really happy with this bag too. But yeah, so the first video is going to show you how to make the flowered mandala, because that one's a little more complicated. The striped one is really easy. So that one didn't need a video. It's just literally stripes, changing colors and working in the back loops sometimes. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, with some increases like, to make a circle. But the flower one is much more complex. So that video is coming out next week. And then in 2 weeks after that, I believe, it might be 3 weeks, but I think it's 2 weeks, I'll have the video for how to make that lining. Now I'm going to tell you guys, I am not an accomplished sewist. I am beginner level at best. I can sew a straight seam, but that's about the limit of my sewing capabilities. So if I could sew this lining, you guys can sew this lining. It's really, really easy to sew the lining. There's a couple steps involved, like you have to take your time with it, but it's super easy. And if you do know how to sew, you're probably going to laugh at my tutorial and go, wow, she's really bad. But it's a basic lining, and if your seams show or they're not completely straight or whatever, it's inside a bag. Nobody's going to care. So that is what's coming up for the bag along. And as always, don't forget to enter the giveaway, which is in the main, no, it's not in the main bag along post. It's in the materials post for this bag. So if you go to the main post, you'll see the full schedule and you can find all the giveaway links and all that. Okay, so that's the bag along. The other thing that I'm working on, I have not made any progress at all on this basket pattern that I promised you because I was busy with the bag along bag. So I will have that out soon. I do have something new in the store, and I'm excited to show you guys this. Let me show you. Okay, so I've been doing this thing on Instagram where I'm posting every third post on Mondays, a Monday motivation with a motivational quote. And Yvette Jiggets, who's in the Crochet Guild with me, she suggested, hey, why don't you get a magnet made of this one? And she said a different one, but I liked this one better. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. So I got magnets made and I have them up in the store. I just put them up this morning. So this is the magnet. Let me zoom out a little bit. That color's not quite showing right, I think. It looks a little too yellow on my screen. Let me see if I can fix that just a little, because it's kind of cute purple. There we go. That's a little bit more true to color. It's purple and gold, and it's actually, it looks kind of shiny. It's not a glitter, but it looks kind of glittery because of the print on it. So cute magnets, and they're $2 each in the store, and I just put them on this morning, so you guys are the first to hear about them. So that is exciting. New product in the store. Okay. So that's the magnet. And then what else am I working on? There was some, oh, I have to tell you, I did a interview feature on, this is hard to say, I'm probably going to say it wrong. It's Umbaka, I believe, Umbaka Designs. Rhonda is the lady's name who runs it. And she's doing like a maker interview thing. And so she did an interview feature of me on her site. And that was a lot of fun. I just got to answer some interview questions, and one of the questions I read it wrong and I answered a different question. I think she said, what do you like to crochet? And I answered, why do you like to crochet? So that was funny, and I didn't notice that until today. But that interview is up, and gosh, I think that's been it this week. It's been a lot of little stuff this week, a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, that's it for this week. So next week will be the video, and what else do I have? Let me check my list. The stitch of the week for next week will be the knit rosette stitch. And that's it, yeah. So let me get right into how to do the crochet block stitch. And I want to talk about a couple of different variations with this one because it's a super easy stitch to do, but there's some fun things you can do with it. So how does that color look? Yeah, the color looks okay. I might have to play with that color a little more later. It's looking a little weird on my end. Okay, so this is the block stitch. And the block stitch is basically all it is it's rows of double crochets where it's 3 double crochet and then a chain 1 space, followed by rows of single crochet where it's a single crochet in the chain space and then a chain 3 space over the double crochets. So you're alternating where you had spaces before you're going to work your stitches and when you had stitches before you're going to work your spaces. And that's really it. So once you get it set up, it's really super easy. And it is, the way I did it here, it's a multiple of 4 plus 3 chains. So it's a multiple of 4 plus 1 stitches. And that's because I added an extra stitch at the end to be a border stitch. You can do it without that border stitch. So that's what I'm going to show you now so you can see both variations. And that is a multiple of 4 plus 1 chain because, you know, it's 2 fewer stitches, so 2 fewer chains. And that ends up with a multiple of 4 plus 3 stitches because it's 4 minus 1, which is the same as 4 plus 3. So let's get started with that. So I'm going to do a multiple of 4 plus 1 chains. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more. Okay, so that'll get me a couple of blocks in there. Well, let's do 2, 3, 4, and 1 more. Okay, I want to have a good big swatch for this one. All right, so the first stitch is a double crochet, which is these first 3 chains, right? So we're counting, this is our double crochet for our first double crochet. We're going to go into the 4th chain and make our second double crochet. And now since I don't have an extra edge stitch, I'm not making 4, I'm just making the 3, right? I'm jumping right into here. So I'm skipping this first stitch and jumping right into this block of 3. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3 of the double crochets. Then I chain 1, I skip 1 chain, and I go 1, okay, am I back? Hello. All right, I think I'm back. So, where was I? Okay, so I've done the first 3 double crochet, chain 1 and skip 1, and then 3 double crochet, and then chain 1 and skip 1, and then 3 double crochet, and we're going to do this all the way across the row. 2, 3, chain 1, skip 1, and that should leave me with the last 3 if I counted correctly. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, I don't know, my phone just, or it's not my phone, it's the camera switching software that allows me to switch cameras. It just locks up sometimes and kicks me off, and it's like, nope, you can't broadcast anymore. Anyway, so now I've got my bundles of 3, right? I'm going to move that out of the way. So I've got my groups of 3, and at the edges I only have a group of 3 stitches instead of here where I've got a group of 4. So that's a different variation. This is the pattern I put in the blog post with the extra stitch on each side, so I'm showing you just slightly different from that. Okay, so now we do our single crochets, and the edges are going to be a little different, but otherwise than that, what we're going to do is we're going to chain over all of our double crochets, and we're going to single crochet in all our chain spaces. So here for the edge, I do want to put a single crochet in the first space. Okay, just to keep the edge nice and even. I could start with a chain 3, but then you're going to get a wonky edge. So you want the edge nice and even. So because I'm only skipping 2 double crochets, I'm only going to chain 2, just for this beginning. Now I'm going to single crochet in the chain space, chain 3, single crochet in the chain space, chain 3, single crochet in the chain space. Now here, again, I'm going to put a stitch in that last stitch, right? So I'm only skipping 2. So I'm going to chain 2 and then single crochet in that last stitch. All right, and that's the difference with not having the edge stitches, is now you only get the chain 2s on the ends. With the edge stitches, you have that extra stitch to work into, so you can do a full chain 3 on the end. That's really the difference. So now in the next row, I'm going to chain 3 to count as my first double crochet. And then remember, I only skipped 2 double crochets. So in this first space, I'm only going to put 2 double crochets. Okay. And then chain 1 and skip, and then 3 double crochets in the next space. So wherever I had a chain, I'm putting a double crochet in that space. Wherever I had a stitch, I'm putting a chain space. So really easy pattern to get going, and that's it. You just repeat that all the way. Now I'm at the end, so there's another chain 2 space, so I just do 2 double crochets, and then I double crochet into this last stitch here. And that is the block stitch in rows without an extra edge stitch. So you can compare here with the edge stitch and without the edge stitch. Both are totally okay. I like the edge stitch because it kind of frames it. But it also depends on what you're doing with your edges, right? If you're sewing your edges together, okay, if you're sewing your edges together, I always use the edge stitch just because it gives a nice finished edge to sew into. So now I want to show you how to work this in 2 colors. And this is the best part about this stitch. What I really love about this stitch is when you do the single crochets in one color and the double crochets in another color. And there's a couple of different ways to do this, because here's what you're going to run into. You're only doing 1 row in each color, right? So if I start at this end, I'm going to end over here. If I start a new color at this end, I'm going to end over here, and I'm not in the right place to pick up that color that I left hanging over there. So there's 2 or 3 ways to get around this. The first way is you cut your yarn after every row, which is great if you want a fringe, not so great if you don't want a fringe, and frankly annoying to me. So that's one way. The other way is to work 2 rows in the same direction. So you start here with your double crochet and you end here. Then you start here with your single crochet and you end here. Then you pick up your double crochet yarn and you go over here, pick up your single crochet yarn and go over here. So you're working 2 rows in the same direction. So you're not turning after every row, you're turning after every 2 rows. So that's one way. And then the other way is working it in the round. So let's look at doing 2 rows at a time first, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in the round. So if I'm doing 2 rows at a time, what I'm going to do is right here, no, well, yeah, why don't we start from, no, we'll start from this edge. Okay, so I finished my double crochets. I'm going to pull that loop out big and set it aside. Then I'm going to come over here and join my new color in the first stitch of that row I just made. Okay, do my single crochet here, chain 2 at the beginning because I'm only skipping 2, and do a single crochet in the chain space. Now I start the pattern of chain 3 and single crochet in the chain space, chain 3 and single crochet in the chain space until I get to the end where I chain 2 and single crochet in that last stitch. Okay, now I pull this one up big, okay, and I grab this one. All right, now here is the problem with this method, because they all have problems, right? This method, the issue is that this loop is going to have to travel up the full length of a double crochet. So you can try to kind of carry this whole bundle up with you if you want. When you do this chain 3, you can kind of carry it up, and I'm talking the loop and the working yarn. You can kind of carry them up along the side if you want, or you can just leave them there and pull them up when you're ready for them and just do an edging to cover it up. Either way is fine. So now I'm going to turn 3, chain 1, skip 1, and then 2 in this chain space at the end here, and then 1 in that very last chain space right there at the end, or in that last stitch. Okay, so now this is what it looks like if you try to start working both yarns in the same direction. And the downside of this is now you've got your double crochets worked on both sides. So instead of having this where they all are facing the same way, because in this one all the double crochets are on the right side here, right? And all of the single crochets are on the wrong side. So instead of having that look, now you've got this look where it's switching back and forth. So that's one downside of doing that. So if you're working in rows and you don't want this look and you don't want to have to deal with carrying the yarn up and all of that stuff, then the only way to really do it is to cut the yarn after every row. Okay? Or I suppose you could add another row somewhere, but the only way to do it and still get this same pattern is to cut the yarn after every row. But you can totally do it in rounds without having to deal with that. So let me take this part out that I just did, and let's start working in the round. So I finished this row of double crochet, and I'm going to join to work in the round. Okay, so I'm going to actually create a chain 1 space between these 2 clusters here because I don't have one. So chain 1, and then I'm going to join in the first stitch here. Okay, now when I do this in the round, I actually am going to want to still turn my work, because when I turn my work, I can work into the chain space easily each time. So let me show you. I'm going to change colors here as I join. So change to the new color. Okay. And chain 1 and turn. Okay. And then I'm going to work, and this is why I actually wanted more stitches so that I didn't have a really tight round. I'm going to work into that first chain space with a single crochet, right? And then I'm going to chain 3. Now I don't have to worry about the edges, so you know I've got chain spaces and double crochets all the way around, so there's no worry about the edges anymore. So chain 3, skip those 3, single crochet. Chain 3, skip those 3, single crochet in the chain space. Here we go. Let's pull these tails out of the way. There we go. Okay, chain 3, skip these 3 stitches and single crochet in the chain space. All right, and then right here is that first single crochet we did in that first chain space. So I'm going to chain 3, skip these 3 stitches, and then single crochet, or sorry, slip stitch right into that single crochet. And when I do that slip stitch, I'm going to change colors. All right, now I'm not going to chain 3 yet. Okay, so I've changed colors. I'm going to turn first, and then look where I am. Because I turned, look where I am. I'm right next to that chain space, right? So I'm going to slip stitch in that chain space. I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to start my double crochet pattern. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 3 more double crochet. The reason I did 2 there is because my chain 3 counts as the first one, right? So 3 more double crochets, chain 1, 3 more double crochets in this chain space, chain 1. So this is very much like the granny stitch, just interrupted with rows of single crochets, right? So chain 1, and then 3 double crochet in here. All right, and then when I come to the end of the row here, remember to do that last chain 1, and then we're going to join in the top here. I'm going to do one more round of the single crochet so you can see it on a round that's not as floppy. Okay, so I've joined, I've changed colors. Now again, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn so that I'm working on the wrong side and I'm working into that chain space. If I didn't turn, I'd have to cross over these double crochet first, which is fine, but then you're going to keep moving your round. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to do my single crochet in that first chain space, and then I just complete that pattern that we've been working on of chain 3, skip 3, and single crochet in the chain space. Skip 3, single crochet in the chain space, chain 3 at the end, and slip stitch into your first single crochet. So that is the block stitch in the round, and it gets that same look that you get with the rows without any messing around with the yarn being on the wrong side when you're trying to change colors. So the 2 ways that I would recommend doing it, if you're doing it in rows and you really want the different colors, the best way to get the good, prettiest look out of it is really going to be to cut your yarn after every row, as annoying as that is, and maybe deal with a fringe. Or you can do it in the round. If you're doing a project in the round, like a cowl or something would be really cute in this, and you don't have all that fuss with the color changes and the edges and all of that. So these are some different options. You can also do this stitch with half double crochet, though it doesn't stand out as much. And you can do it with taller stitches too, but they get lacier the taller you go. So you could do, treble crochets or even taller if you wanted to. And that is the block stitch. It's traditionally done in double crochet, but really you can change it to anything you want. What else was I going to say about this? There was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh well, I've forgotten. I'll remember later. Oh wait, maybe I put it on my list. Oh, okay. So I wanted to say that this is a great yarn, or this is a great stitch if you're doing scrap projects where each row is going to be a different color or a different yarn. Because with those kind of projects, you've got multiple little pieces of yarn anyway, so you're going to have all those tails to deal with anyway, and those projects look really great with fringe, and multiple colors in this and stripes in this looks really great. So great stitch for scrap projects. I like it for that. And that's about it. That's all I have for you guys today. Any questions? I'm sorry, I know I froze a couple of times. Did anything cut out that you didn't hear, or did I cover everything? Because I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. Anybody? Nope. Okay, so I will just say bye and have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.